Hi everyone, it's your lovely Lotus Blossom Lizzie, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be making some love note postcards, and I'm going to be using some of the items that I sell over in the shop over at Pleasant Creations, so I'll let you know what those are as we get to them. And I'm just going to be using some recycled chipboard basically. So I'll be using some pieces from a lineage package and then also a Cheerios box, and they work out really well. So the first thing I wanted to do was, of course, cover my space and kind of pull out the pieces that I cut. Now I cut these pieces to the standard size of 4x6 for a postcard here in the US, because if you didn't know, you can mail different size pieces of cards and paper, but the size will have a different price. So the postcards have the cheaper price, so you want to try to stay within the guidelines for the size for the postcards. So you can go to the United States Postal Service site if you're here in the US, and you can check out the sizes there, or you can just ask your postal worker. They'll be glad to help you. Now the first thing I did was I took some matte medium and I put it down onto one of the cardboard pieces, and I'm actually going to work on one side at a time. So kind of doing it, in a style where you do everything, one thing at a time, and kind of an automated type of style here. I don't know if that made sense or not, but in my head it made sense. So I'm just ripping up some old book pages, and I have lots of book pages over at Pleasant Creations as well, so you can pick those up if you don't have any. And these already had kind of a tinge of brownness around the side. Oh, and I almost forgot that if these are the type of videos that you like, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification bell as well, so that you'll be notified when more videos like this one come out. So I'm just continuing to put down the paper. Now I kind of had a little bit of an idea of what I was going to do before I got started, but you know how it goes. You get started and then things kind of change. Now I'm putting down this pink paper, and what I did was I copied a dictionary page, and I copied it onto some pink paper. I put it on some different color papers because I didn't know which colors I was going to use. So that's the paper that you see there, that pink paper. And I think I did it on yellow and blue and green just to see. I didn't know what I was going to use. And then we have some vintage music sheets. And I love using the music sheets. Maps and music sheets I have a thing for. So I decided to use the music sheets, and I collaged them just a little bit. And I have these as well over in the shop. I have some antique ones and also some vintage ones as well. So I'm just really, really piling on the matte medium as well, because you have to think about it. Really think about, these are postcards that I'm going to actually use. I'm going to write on them, and I'm going to put them through the postal service. So, the mail people, they're not going to have time to be nice to your paper. So you want to make sure everything is glued on well, and especially on the edges, you want to give your edges lots of care so that when it does go through the postal service, it's not going to be, all tore up by the time it gets to the recipient. So I put a piece of vellum over the top of the music pages, and that vellum is from an assorted pack of vellum that I sell at the shop as well, and it is a floral pack, and I love that vellum. It is so pretty, and it's translucent so you can see through it, so you can see the music pages behind it. Now moving on to the next card, and you can see this was from a Cheerios box, and I'm putting some music pages down on this one as well. And I think I'm going to do this just a little bit differently than I did the other ones. But I don't know. I tried to have 5 cards that I was going to do. And I wanted to do them all just a little bit differently. Now, when I pulled out this Cheerios card, I like the saying that was on there. This was like a happy mistake. When I cut the box, I didn't even notice that. And it says, take care of your heart. So that's kind of perfect for a love note. So on this one, I just put the vellum straight down on it. And man, it is so pretty. You all are gonna like how these really came out. They're really beautiful. So I'm wiping in between. Even though this is not paint, I just kind of wiped the surface so that things wouldn't get stuck to the paper as I was going through it. So now I'm using one of the yellow sheets of paper that has the dictionary print on it. And you can see I'm really piling that matte medium on. You could also use decoupage as well. I'll say I like using the matte medium better because you can get like a nice thinner coat, and it doesn't really, I don't know, it just seems like the decoupage is thicker. So both of them are great protectants on top of the pages. So I would just recommend, if you have the decoupage, you can use that. You don't have to use matte medium, but this is what I had. I don't know if I even have any decoupage right now. So here are kind of, they're not finished, but they're partially finished. So everything is all glued down on these. So now I'm just going to go through and I'm going to go ahead and cut off any excess paper that is hanging off. And I'm taking care not to pull those edges up, because right at this point, they're not really all the way dry. Now, optimally, you would definitely probably benefit from letting your things dry maybe like an hour or two before you start messing with them again. But I usually like to go through my projects pretty quickly, and so I just I'm working with them partially wet. Now the matte medium dries pretty quickly, but I don't think any glue is like really dry till after about 24 hours, so just keep that in mind. So again, I'm just going through and I'm just cutting the excess off. And then also I wanted to kind of get a feel for how these postcards were going to look, because it's always a first with me, and I promise you all that when I say it's a first for me, it's a first. This is the first time that I attempted to do these postcards. So I decided in 2019 that I was going to start writing people that I know and I love, because people don't do that anymore. They send emails, and you know what, I hate getting like cards through on Facebook and things like that. I don't like that. I like getting the actual cards, and I think other people do too. So I decided that I'm going to start, I'm going to make my friends and my family pen pals. So I just opened up one of the ephemera packs that is also on pleasantcreations.com in the Etsy shop. So you can check that out. I actually have 2 romance packs, and they already have that nice edging around them, a nice vintagey type of look, and I love these packs. I use them all the time, and you've probably seen like bits and pieces of them in other projects that I've shown on here, but I decided I wanted to use like lots of them because these are love notes, and this is the romance pack. So I wanted to use the romance pack some kind of way in this. Now, although the edges already have like that vintage look, I wanted to give it even more. So I went around the edges with some dye ink. And the reason why I didn't use the Tim Holtz Distress ink is because I didn't want to activate that ink, because lots of times, when you're using the glues and you use that Tim Holtz Distress ink, you use the glue and it's going to kind of smear. But so I just wanted to use a glue that was kind of at least semi-permanent, so when I glued over the top of these, it wouldn't be any issues. I also pulled out some stamps that had some nice sayings on them, and I didn't know how much stamping I would do because I didn't want to go overboard on these. I wanted to leave, a significant amount of white space, because sometimes simple is more. Less is more in some cases. because I already had the detailed backgrounds. So I know that I have to like just, just go hog wild when it came to, decorating these. I also went around the edges. Again, I was being pretty gentle because I wanted to make sure that I didn't lift up anything. And these kind of turned out to be kind of like grungy kind of cards per se, but I love the way they came out because they look like just old pieces of mail that you could send out. And I think the recipients of these, I think they're gonna love these. So I'm putting some matte medium on the back of the pieces, and then I'm also going to go over the whole thing with the matte medium as well, so it'll have like a nice coating on it. So in this pack, there's pieces like there's some sayings in here. We have some florals, there's hearts, butterflies, silhouettes, and I just love this. I love this pack so much, and I love using it. So again, I'm just wiping my surface off because I don't want everything to get stuck on that pad that I'm using there. And my desk turned out to be like a big old mess too. Even though I try to put things away as I'm using it, but I almost stopped doing that because usually I'll end up pulling things back out. So although these are also kind of cut in, some nice shapes, I still decided to kind of do a spot of fussy cutting on some of the pieces so that they would kind of have a better look and a better feel. So I like that. But then, then I have to try to figure out, okay, where I'm going to put these at on here. Now I did try to figure out ahead of time, like, which pieces would go where and how much, that didn't work out. It just ended up me kind of rifling through the pieces anyway and trying to figure out what would work best. Now this is definitely a project that anybody could do. You could do this project with your kids, with your grandkids. You can just, while you're watching TV. It's just a really seriously fun project to do. And I'm all about trying to find a use for the things that I make. I'm not the type of person that makes things and then put them in the closet or go back and look at them. I do go back and look at things though, especially my junk journals, because I can't really give those away, but I like making things that are useful. So once these are done, I'm going to take a picture of them and I'm going to send them off on their way to some new homes. And I know that they've gotten some use out of them. Because for me, sometimes I look at some things that people craft and I say, what are they going to do with that? Now, what kind of inspired me and sparked me to do this is I was on YouTube, of course, because I'm a heavy duty YouTube watcher, and I was looking at some people do the ATC cards, and I didn't really know what they were, and they're like artist trading cards are what they are. That's what the ATC stands for. And I thought about doing the artist trading cards, but I wanted something that had a more practical use to it. The trading cards are fun, they're small, you can do like some quick projects and everything, but I thought doing the postcards that would work better for me. So if you wanted to do like some small cards like this and you just want to trade with people, then the artist trading cards are definitely for you. So, and they need to be within a small size as well. There's actually groups that do the ATCs. They act as pen pals, and I believe some of the groups act as intermediaries between people that want to trade the cards as well. So it's a thing. Let's just put it that way. It's a thing. Artist trading cards. Now I don't know about the mixed media postcards, but it's a thing today because that's what we're doing. Now I definitely wanted to use this saying. It says, life with you is good. Because that saying would be good for a friend. It could be good for a family. And of course, Of course, it would be good to give to your honey. I'm sure they would appreciate you letting them know that life is good with them. And Valentine's Day is coming up, so you definitely want to, let your loved ones know how much you love them. So that's cool. So you can't even see the streaks on the glue when I put this on the page, when I put the matte medium on top of everything rather. And that's what I was going for. That's why I like the matte medium. When it dries, you can't even tell that it's there, but it's definitely a good protectant. Now, I think the decoupage is a bit heavier and it's great and everything, but you have to be careful and make sure you pick the right kind because they have different finishes. So it can be matte or it can be glossy as well. And I hope you guys don't mind me just, rattling on here. But, I always like to give you guys my thoughts as I'm looking at the video myself, because I record the video first and then I'll do the voiceover on it. And because I don't want to say I'm stuck on myself or anything, but I like my videos. I like watching them. Yep, I'm one of those people that watches their own videos just like it's the first time I ever watched it. And that's a little crazy, but yes, I do. So on this particular postcard, I decided to do a collage. I thought a collage would be nice, a nice romance collage. So we got a heart and a floral, and I have this cameo, Victorian cameo, and of course I want to put on there "Wild About You." And I think I know what friend I want to send this particular card. And then I just make sure I slather that matte medium all over the top, because again, I don't want it to come off. Now I will say, when I use the matte medium over the top of the vellum does kind of buckle, but for me that just adds texture to the actual project itself, so it doesn't bother me at all. So you might want to keep that into consideration if you're using vellum, that you really have to make sure it's stuck down, and if you're using something that's wet behind it, it may buckle a little bit. But that's okay with me. And my cards, they didn't come out completely flat after I got done with them. But what I did after they dried is I pressed them. I have a little homemade press that I made out of some boards, and I just stick a whole bunch of weights on top of it and leave it there, and everything will be nice and flat. So that's a tip for you. Just press your things if they kind of curl on you a little bit. So these hearts, I decided to cut those out, and I thought that was a really good decision. I like the cutouts of the heart so much, and they're just perfect for this project, especially on this piece where it says take care of your heart, because you can take that more than one way, because as we get older we don't really take care of ourselves that way. But also you want to make sure that you're around the right people that you love and you trust, and that's a way to take care of your heart as well. That was kind of deep, wasn't it? I'm a deep kind of person. So again, just slathering that nice matte medium all over, and I tried to make sure it was a nice even coat. I think I said that before. So I got all of those done. So this is where we are now, but we're not finished. I don't get finished that easy. So then I took out my beautiful pots of Dilutions paint, and I tried to pick ones that kind of match the front a little bit, so I picked out a few. And I took out some makeup pads, because you can get those things, you can get 30 of them for $1 at the dollar store. It's amazing. So if you have a dollar store near you, then these are definitely a great item to have. And so I just used those and just smeared those on, and they went on pretty smooth. Now looking back, I probably would have gessoed the back as well, because the more cardboardy kind of chipboard actually kind of soaked the paint in when I was putting it on, but I still found it wasn't a problem. It still went on nice and smooth, and I should be able to write on those. So on these two pieces, I'm going to use some pink, and I thought pink was appropriate, and it kind of fit the front. Everything is not matchy, and it doesn't need to be. And I always say it, if you're looking for perfection, or you're a Garanimal kind of person, and if you're old enough, you know what Garanimals is, so I'm not going to say anything. Somebody asks, I'll tell them what a Garanimal is, but if you're a Garanimal type of person, mixed media and art journaling is probably not for you. And let's throw junk journaling in there too. You can't do any of that if you're a matchy person. Let's just put it like that. So I got a little paint on the front, but I just wiped that off while it's wet. And so then I decided to put down some paper towel because I didn't want the fronts to kind of pick up the paint off of my little pad, my little homemade pad there that I had. Now my black paint, it looks awful. It's almost done, and although I do use the black paint a lot, it should be a lot more in that pot. And I do spritz my dilutions paints just a little bit with water before I close them up. But and I've said this every time that I use it, because you just need to be aware that the black and the purple, their formula is not quite the same as the other ones, so they're going to do that over time. I think I may have had these pots for almost a year, and over time they're gonna look clumpy, but as you can see, this black is still going on really smooth. So don't worry if it looks kind of funky in the jar, it's still gonna be fine. It's still gonna be fine. So I did use my heat gun several times, and I did it off camera so that everything was pretty much dry, or as dry as it can be when you're trying to do it as fast as I was doing it. Because again, probably should have waited maybe about 24 hours and then went ahead and finished the project. So now I wanted to make the back of the postcards look like postcards, because certain information needs to go in certain places. So you need to have a space on the left and space on the right. So the space on the left will be where you write, and then the space on the right will be the space where you would put the addresses at. So you will put your return address, and also you'll put the address for where it's going to, and then just a spot for the stamp. So I just kind of did a little bit of hand doodling on those, and I decided to use my white Uniball pen, and I put like some hearts down this one. Now it's always a hit or miss when I'm drawing hearts. I don't know what it is. My hearts are always kind of wonky, but I like the hearts, so I tried to draw them anyway, and they came out okay. But that doesn't always happen. I think one or two of them were a little bit off, but whatever. And I also did like a little squiggly line to write the addresses on. You probably don't need to put any lines on there at all. I decided on the front of this one that I would take my Stettler marker and kind of just draw some lines so it looks like the hearts are hanging. I like that. I like that hanging effect. That kind of was the piece de resistance. Almost the piece de resistance on the front. So this one, I decided to do like some flowers. So again, when you're doing your doodling or you're decorating, resist the urge to decorate the whole back of the card, because you gotta have room to write. And I mean, this is for love notes, and so I'm not writing like a whole letter on the back. Remember that people can see what you're writing, so be careful what you write there too if you've never used a postcard before. And then also remember, you need to have room for the addresses, and it needs to be big enough for your postal service person to see who this is going to. Now, I had somebody that asked me, how do you write on the black? You painted it black, and how's somebody gonna write on the black? Well, I said, first of all, these postcards are for me. I'm not selling them or anything or giving them to anybody. I'm actually going to be using them for myself. So in this case, I'm going to be writing with the white Uniball pen, so it's not going to be a problem. So I just kind of did my normal doodling this time. I did a, what do you call that? Kind of like, I don't want to call it a lattice, but it's like some leaves on a vine. A vine, that's what it is. I couldn't think of what it is. Sometimes your mind just slips. And so I did all of these cards. I did the 5 cards. So this is what the backs look like. Isn't that pretty? So then I said, I'm not done, because y'all know how I roll. It's like you can go on and on when it comes to mixed media project. Sometimes you have to tell yourself to stop, but sometimes it's just nice to just keep it going. So I took out my gold uniball pen and I went around everything, all the little pieces, to kind of give everything a nice little border. And I really like that. It actually kind of classy things up a little bit. It gave my postcard some class. Now, I also wanted to mention as well, now we talked about the edges on the postcards because you want to make sure that they're down really good. You don't want anything hanging off, so I cut off any excess papers or any of those little pieces that were hanging off the side. I cut that off. And then when you're actually building and constructing these, you want to have your pieces be relatively flat. So like I wouldn't use like an enamel dot on these because it's going to go through some stuff to get to where it needs to go. So just keep that in mind. So using pens and stamps, those are things that will be good to use as embellishments. And like these little cards from the romance pack, these are good because they lay relatively flat, but they still add some dimension to the cards. And I think all of these elements on here also adds a bit of stiffness to the cards as well. So this is how they came out. They are so beautiful. They look even more stunning in person than they do here on the camera. And I love the way that they came out. Again, they curled up just a little bit, some of them, but I pressed them out and they're nice and flat and they're ready to go to the post office. They're the correct size. I don't have anything sticking out. I'm not worried about the edges coming up. And I think it's just like the perfect little pack to, send to the people that I love, basically. And I use, some recycled materials in this as well, and a few items from the shop, and I'll have everything listed below that I use. But you can always head over to pleasantcreations.com. That is actually the address to my Etsy shop, and you can check out all the ephemera and Valentine's Day things that I have there. So with that, I just wanted to say love, peace, and hair grease from your sweet Lotus Blossom and lovable Lizzie. Have a fantabulous day and enjoy life.